Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something I think we've all faced.
Hmm.
That moment in a conversation where, well, you're mentally scanning for the nearest exit sign.
Absolutely, their polite escape route.
Exactly. We've got some really interesting material here that looks into why it feels so tricky, to disengage gracefully.
Right.
And more importantly, it gives us some practical ways to handle those please let this end situations with a bit more finesse, maybe.
Yeah, finesse is a good word for it. Our mission today, really, is to equip you with a better handle on these social dynamics and maybe some tools you can actually, use.
Okay, let's dive in.
So we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Trapped in those conversational eddies. Maybe someone's explaining their, I don't know, incredibly detailed stamp collection
Uh-huh. For a long time.
for a very long time. And what's really fascinating when you look at the sources is this tension between wanting to be polite, agreeable,
Yeah, the social pressure.
and that really strong internal feeling of just wanting to, well, escape.
Yeah.
That's why just saying, okay, I need to leave now feels so jarring, right?
Definitely awkward. So we end up searching for these, coded ways to signal I'm done.
Precisely. We try to convey let me go without actually saying those words.
It's so true. And we've all seen, or let's be honest, probably used those slightly theatrical exit lines. Like,
Yeah.
oh, is that Brenda over there?
Uh-huh, right? Even if you just saw Brenda 5 minutes ago. Or the classic, oh, look, food. Spoiler, there's often no food.
Exactly. But the message is clear, isn't it? The conversation's wrapping up, whether naturally or maybe not so naturally.
Okay, so the sources we looked at, they kind of categorize these escapes. They break them down into roughly 3 tiers, which is pretty helpful.
3 tiers. Okay. What's the first one?
The first one is what we could call the polite disengagement, or maybe fake engagement exit. It sounds a bit harsh, but
Okay, polite disengagement. I get that. So what does that look like in practice? Give me some examples.
sure. So these are the phrases that, they start with a bit of feigned interest before you sort of pivot to leaving, like saying, wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. Anyway, I should probably...
Anyway, the classic conversation killer.
It is. That anyway subtly translates to, okay, I really must flee now. Or another one. Totally get that. Actually, I just remembered.
Which usually means I don't really care, but I need an out.
Pretty much. It's like, I acknowledge you said words, but my brain just flagged something more important, like checking my phone.
Right. Soften the blow, make a small nod to what they said, and then eject.
Hmm.
Makes sense. What's tier 2?
Tier 2 is a bit more active, let's call it strategic pivoting, or maybe the redirect.
Strategic. Okay.
Here, you're not just reacting, you're actively trying to steer the conversation towards an exit.
How so?
Well, a classic example is, that actually reminds me, even if it doesn't really remind you of anything related.
Huh. Right.
The subtext there is something like, what you're saying isn't holding me, but this other thought gives me a handy way out.
Okay. Using a tangent to escape. Got it. Any others?
Yeah, there's the before I forget approach, like, oh, before I forget, I need to ask you about X.
Which implies.
Well, it implies, I won't really forget, but you should forget about keeping me here much longer because I'm using this question to leave.
Okay, so it's like creating your own off-ramp using a conversational detour. I like it. So what about when things are, a bit more urgent?
Right. That takes us to tier 3. The abort mission or emergency exit. Maybe expedited departure sounds nicer.
Abort mission feels pretty accurate sometimes.
It does. These are more direct, but you're still aiming for politeness, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's for when you need to get out, like now.
Okay, examples.
Things like, I really hate to cut this short, but, which, let's be honest, often means, I would love to cut this short.
Mm-hmm. The apologetic preemptive strike.
Exactly. Or even just a quick question before I head off, where the question is just a brief prelude to the actual heading off.
The quick question as a quick escape. Clever.
It can be, yeah. So you move from that sort of gentle fade out to something a bit more definite, but still trying not to slam the door shut.
Right. Now, the sources also talk about how you say these things, don't they? The delivery matters for, not burning bridges.
Oh, absolutely crucial. It's all about sounding considerate, even while you're mentally inching towards the door, how to soften the exit.
So what are some tricks there?
Well, one technique they mention is the echo and exit move, or echo and shift, maybe.
Echo and exit. How does that work?
You basically briefly mirror or agree with the last thing the speaker said, like totally agree, or that's a great point.
Okay, validation first.
Exactly, validation. Then you pivot immediately to your reason for leaving, totally agree. Which reminds me, I really need to go catch someone. It acknowledges their point right before you bolt.
Acknowledgement, then retreat.
Yeah.
Smooth. What else?
Another one is the question distraction. This is kind of neat.
Oh, my.
You ask a question, maybe slightly off topic, like, wait, how does that connect back to, or so how did you first get involved with that?
Okay. Makes them think for a sec.
Right. Creates a little pause, a shift in focus. And in that moment, or just after they start answering, you hit them with the, oops, you know what? I just realized the time. Gotta run.
Ha! Little conversational misdirection. I like that. And then there was something about a physical exit. Sounds advanced.
Yeah, the nonverbal cue. This is where you don't rely so much on words, but on, like, body language.
Such as?
The classic example is the pretend phone buzz. You know, quick pat of the pocket, maybe glance down. Oh, sorry, my phone's buzzing. Think I got to take this.
Even if it didn't buzz at all.
Doesn't have to. It's the performance of needing to check the phone that creates the exit opportunity.
Yeah.
Or even just glancing at your watch or wrist, if you don't wear one with a slightly panicked look. Wow, is that the time already? I really need to dash.
So a bit of method acting to make your escape.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, the source material had a pro tip, too, something to watch out for. Yes, a definite don't. Avoid saying just one quick thing as your exit line.
Why is that? Seems harmless.
Well, the sources argue it's rarely ever just one quick thing, is it? It often opens the door for them to add their quick thing, or it drags out the conversation you were trying to end, creates friction.
Good point. Avoid the trap of the never-ending quick thing. Okay, so we've got these tactics. But does this stuff change depending on, like, where you are? Culture matters here.
Oh, hugely.
Yeah?
Yeah, the sources definitely touch on cultural differences. What flies in one place might seem abrupt or confusing somewhere else.
Okay, give us some examples, like the U.S. versus...
Sure. So in the U.S., it's pretty common to use that phrase, well, I should let you go.
Right, which really means...
Which really means, okay, I need to go now, so I'm signaling the end of this. It's slightly indirect, putting the onus on letting them go, but everyone understands that means the speaker is leaving.
Gotcha. How about, say, in the U.K.?
In Britain, you might hear something more like, right, well, if you'll excuse me. It's perhaps a touch more formal. It clearly signals the speaker's intention to depart.
Okay, more direct self-excusal. And Australia.
The source offers a more colloquial take for Australia, something like, yeah, now I'm off.
Yeah, nah. Very Aussie.
It apparently translates roughly to, okay, conversation over, peace out. Reflects maybe a more direct, laid-back style.
That's fascinating how those little phrases carry so much cultural weight. Okay, so for you listening, if you want to try some of this out, the sources had some listener ideas too.
Yeah, some hacks and challenges. One listener apparently swears by the technique of suddenly recognizing someone across the room.
Ah, the phantom friend.
Exactly.
Oh.
Oh, is that Sarah? I need to quickly say hi. Apparently it works every time as a polite excuse to just move away.
A classic for a reason, I suppose. Okay, and what about a challenge for you listening this week?
Right, we've got a little three-part mission if you choose to accept it.
Lay it on us.
Okay, first, just observe. Try to spot one of these polite disengagement exits happening in the wild this week. Just notice it.
Okay, be an escape tactic spotter. What's part 2?
Part 2, try one yourself. Specifically, try the echo and exit or echo and shift to move. See how it feels to, validate, then vacate.
Get some practice in. And the third part.
Third, deploy the question distraction. Find a moment mid-ramble someone else's ramble. Preferably ask a brief question, then use that pause to make your graceful getaway.
Okay, some real-world social experiments. I like it. The source even had that little story, didn't it? About dodging the let's catch up.
Oh, yeah. Someone apparently got hit with the dreaded, we must catch up properly soon, and managed to deflect it with a simple, actually, they already apologized.
Wait, what? Apologize for what?
It doesn't even matter. It was just vague enough and sounded like closure on some issue that it apparently shut down the catch-up talk immediately. Very clever.
Wow. That's
Very proud.
efficient. A masterclass in conversational deflection.
Indeed. So to kind of wrap things up, we've really dug into this art, I suppose, of getting out of awkward small talk without leaving wreckage behind.
Yeah, we looked at why it's tricky, that politeness versus escape tension.
Right, and we unpack those 3 tiers.
Hmm.
The polite nod and go, the strategic redirect.
And the abort mission emergency exit.
Exactly. Plus those handy techniques like the echo and exit, the question distraction, even the fake phone buzz.
And we can't forget the cultural spins, the American, I'll let you go, the British, the Aussie, yeah. No.
Definitely. So hopefully you feel a bit more equipped now. You've got this toolkit of strategies, almost like little social spy techniques,
Aha! Social spy techniques. I like
to help
that.
you navigate those conversations where, frankly, you'd rather be doing literally anything else and maybe reclaim a bit of your time and energy.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About all these subtle signals and unspoken rules we use constantly to manage connecting with people, and, just as importantly, how we manage disconnecting.
Absolutely. What other invisible scripts are we all following in our daily chats? Maybe that's something to ponder. Perhaps for our next deep dive.